Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. Brian, Mr. Smith. This is the kitchen. Today we're going to make a, sorry, got sidetracked there for a second. Today, it's Wednesday. Normally we cook some supper. But today I thought instead we'd make some bread. We're going to make a naan bread. It's N-A-A-N. Forever I thought it was called Naan bread. I was corrected by a friend of mine, and it's an Indian style bread. It's been around for a long time. It's very popular in the whole South Asian region. It stems from the Middle East. I want to say Lebanon, if I remember reading right. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, let me know. But I know it's very popular in India. So I learned how to make this, I don't know, maybe a month ago. And so it's something we won't be trying new together like we normally do. But I really want you guys to kind of know how to make this bread. It's a solid bread. It's pan fried. It doesn't take a lot of ingredients. And it goes with everything. I mean, you can make sandwiches out of it, put jelly on it, jam, have it with breakfast, or a dinner meal. I mean, it's a good multi-purpose flatbread. Similar to a pita, but it doesn't have the giant air pocket in the center, and it's not baked. It's pan fried. And it's absolutely amazing. So, anyhow, if you are new to my channel, welcome. I should have said that first, and I apologize for being rude. I hope you get something out of this. I'm glad you found me. And if you're returning to my channel, thank you. Either way, thank you. It means a lot to me that you guys take time out of your day to watch my videos and hopefully get something out of them all the same. And while I'm thinking about it, I've got 3 new subscribers that absolutely were amazing. That they decided to join our community, and hopefully we can keep them entertained and active in it. All 3 of them are cooks on YouTube. One is Desert Life Cooks. Rather a new channel, less than a year old, but it has some pretty cool stuff on their channel. I gave it a browse, watched a couple videos, very well done videos. Matter of fact, all 3 of these guys are absolutely just great tellers and cooks and chefs. The other one is Tama Kitchen. She is, if I'm correct, she is from India. And if you like Indian cuisine, her channel is definitely the one to check out. I know me and Chris were just oohs and ahs about her recipes. And the last one was Chef Vic. And his channel is Chef Vic Cuisine. And his channel is amazing also. The 2 of them have been on YouTube a little over a year, but their food is flawless. Their presentations are great, and they give you a step-by-step on what to do, much like here. So if you get a chance, check any of those 3 out. I will try to leave links to all 3 of their YouTube channels down below. And they have good channels. They have good videos. Their instructions are pretty spot on. And I highly recommend checking them out just for some variety. It's part of being a good neighbor, getting to know your neighbors, enjoying what they're into sometimes. That being said, naan bread. Like I said, basic bread. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already down below. Thumbs up, thumbs down are nice. They do help grow the channel and get us seen. But not always necessary. It's not something I push and be like, oh, you gotta hit those and you gotta hit the subscribe button. I'm just tickled that you take time out of your day to come visit with me. Notification bell is right next to the subscribe box. That'll let you know when my videos do come out, and then you can watch them at your leisure. So, that being said, let me get the camera moved. We'll get down here. We'll talk about ingredients as we go, and all that good stuff. We'll talk about what to do. All right, I'll be back in just 1 second with a new camera setup. All right, so got the camera set up, and we're good to go. This bread takes a little bit of time, but to put together is really easy. So, the first thing we're going to need, small bowl. bowl of just small, any kind of bowl. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a half a cup of warm water. Now, you'll know if you have your water warm enough because we're about to activate our yeast, our dry yeast. And if your water is not warm enough, it takes a long time for it to activate. So we got a half a cup of warm water, you know, and it's fairly warm. It's not boiling hot. It's not straight hot water out of the tap, but it's close. And to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Now I use Fleshman's, but you use whatever dry yeast you like. And this is the active dry yeast, which means it's not... There's a quick dry yeast, and then there's a slow dry yeast. You want the red label at any rate. Fleshman's is the only one I know. But we're going to need 2 teaspoons of dry active yeast, just like such. And to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar, which is about 5 grams if you're measuring with a scale. We're going to take that, and we're going to mix it together. And what's going to happen is we're going to let this sit. And you'll start to see foam at the top. And it should only take about a minute for that to happen. And what's happening in that time is the yeast is, I mean, it's alive. It's a living thing, so to speak. And it's eating at that sugar that's in there. The warm water helps the sugar dissolve, helps wake the yeast up and say hello, good morning. And the yeast is just gas. That the yeast or the foam is just gas that the yeast produce. So we're going to set that aside for a minute and let that get some action. And like I said, you'll know if it's working or not because it should happen pretty quick. All right, so while that's doing that, in a separate bowl, we're just gonna combine 1 cup of flour. All right, which right here's my flour. Now, flour wise, you're gonna need about 2.5 to 3 cups. It'll really just depend on your flour, but you want to start out with 1 cup, and if you're measuring, that would be 120 grams. All right, now I know just from making this, I literally need 2.5 to 3 cups. But we're going to start out with 1 cup. And this is a 1/4 cup measuring cup, by the way. So there's our 1 cup of flour. And to that, we are going to add some salt. We're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon, a couple grams worth of salt. And we're just gonna whisk this up real quick. All right. Like I said, this is really easy. All right, so that's pretty much all we can do for right this second. We just gotta let that yeast get activated, which takes a minute or two, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we're starting to froth on the top. See the white? That's frothing. That means our yeast is activated. It's happy. It's eating. It's having a good time. So to that, we're going to add our oil. We got a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and you want to use a good olive oil, good virgin olive oil. Yeah, we're going to pour that in there. We're going to put 1 egg in. I got 1 large egg. Now, everything you want at room temperature, just like baking. Yeah, you want this at room temperature. The egg you want at room temperature. It makes it easier to break up. But you want, as much as possible, everything to be at room temperature or close. You know, because this is still, technically, it's baking. All right, and then the last thing we're putting in here is 1/3 cup of just plain yogurt. Just plain old yogurt. One of these days I'm going to learn how to make my own. I got a friend that makes his own, and it always just is amazing. And he says it's super simple. I just have yet to do it. And then we're just going to mix this up. All right, we got that mixed up. Yeah. And going all over the place because that's what we do. All right, mixed up, good to go. So now we're going to take our dry mix, which is just simply our salt, and our flour. That's an all-purpose flour. I don't know if I mentioned that. We're going to put this in the center. Pour that near the center. And you can use a whisk for this, but I find it easier, personally. I just use the end of a spoon. Because if you think about it, when you're making bread with a bread hook, I mean, it's essentially doing the same thing. And we're just going to mix this up. And we'll keep adding flour a half a cup at a time until we get a consistency that's like bread dough, basically. Like this, and I can't give you an exact amount of flour because, like I said, I mean, everybody's flour is a little different. It's kind of like your oven. It's a little different. Bakes at different temperatures, different times. And this is kind of the same principle. I mean, depending on the humidity in your house, the time of year, I don't think it'll ever just take a half a cup. But we're basically going to keep adding flour until a dough ball forms. If you have a mixer with a paddle attachment, you can most certainly use that. Or not a paddle attachment, but a bread hook. You could easily use that. And same principle. I'm just omitting the bread hook for a wooden spoon. All right, well, I'm going to keep adding flour to this, and then we'll move on. And once we get it where it needs to be, when I come back, we'll take a look at it and talk about what to do next. Okay, so we got it all mixed together, and all I did really was I got it to a point where it was all combined, and then I just used my hand to finish it up with. But what we're looking for is something about like this. I mean, right here. And it's going to be a little sticky, a little tacky. You don't want it to be dried out, but you don't want it to be wet either. I mean, if that makes sense. I mean, and this is something that may take you a little bit of practice on. All right, but you're looking for something that's going to be smooth. It's going to feel smooth. It's not going to be gritty. And you want it to be, like I said, slightly sticky. I mean, see how I don't have a whole lot on my hands, but not so non-sticky that it's dry. You don't want it to be dry because that'll just do nothing but create a dry bread. So the next thing we got to do with this is we're going to leave it in the bowl. We're going to cover this with some satin wrap, just like such. You don't have to put it on there super tight. If you don't want to waste the satin wrap, you could just as easily throw a towel over this. Now, we're going to let this sit and rest for about an hour, hour and a half. And it'll really, that'll just depend on your kitchen, really. What you're looking for is it to double in size. We're going to let it rest. The yeast is going to continue to do its thing. And then it'll double in size. Now, in my case, I'm just going to stick it in my oven. The oven's not on. I'm going to turn the light on and leave it in there for about an hour and a half. With the light on, the light actually produces a little bit of heat. Unless, of course, you have a LED light in there, and then it's not going to produce any heat, but you'll still have that warmth. If your kitchen's already around 72 to 74 degrees, you can leave it on the counter. What you don't want to do is leave it out in the sunshine. Just set it in a nice, warm, cozy area. Keep it comfortable. I've seen people throw it on their couch, throw some blankets over it, and let it sit. But we're looking to get this thing to double in size. So I'm going to put this in my oven. I'm going to let it sit for about an hour, hour and a half. And then when I come back, we'll start making some bread. All right, I'll see you here in just a second. Okay, so we let our dough sit in the oven, in our case, and rise, and we are there. Now, I didn't oil the bowl. Some breads, it will tell you to oil the bowl, and I mean, I suppose you could, but I have yet to do that, and this is like my 4th time making the bread. But we want to get it out and get it onto a lightly floured surface. I have this really cool pad that came with my new rolling pin, and it has come in handy for several things, like when making pies. It allows you to know how big of a circle you're making, which is kind of nice. And we're going to flatten this out a little bit, roll around a little bit of flour that's on there. because it does get re-sticky again. Alright, so we got this rolled out into a circle. Well, we got that going on. If you ever get dough stuck to your hands, best way to get it off, rub your hands together. Comes right off that way, well, for the most part. Alright, so we got that flattened out and in a somewhat of a circle. We're going to turn our skillet on. Alright, I'm using cast iron. If you don't have cast iron, that's okay. You can use a just a standard old skillet. And we're going to put this on a medium to medium high heat. And then I'm going to put a tablespoon or so of oil in the bottom of this. Not, yeah, we're not going to, because we're not deep frying them. We're just, you know, pan frying them up. Kind of like you would do a tortilla shell. You know, if you were heating up corn tortillas. Very similar to that. Alright, so while we got that warming up, go ahead and get our circle out. And then, being the rocket scientist I am, I forgot a tool. Now, I don't have, and I know not everybody's got a pizza cutter, but if you do, it comes in handy. We're going to cut this into 8 sections. Alright? And then, like I said, if you don't have one of these, that's fine. You can just simply use a knife to score it with, or if you have a pastry cutter, which looks like a spatula. It looks like this, only square and about half the size. You can use that. It works just as well. It just so happens I have a small pizza knife. We're going to get these separated out. You want them somewhat even, you know, as far as size goes. But then we'll just set these off to the side, because we can only do one at a time. So, well, we're only going to do these one at a time, because that's what the directions said. The recipe said when I first made these. We'll just use this one first. And what we're going to do while that's heating up is we're going to roll this into a ball, just like such. Stick it in the center, and then we're going to roll this out till it's about 1/4 inch thick. And which should give you roughly a 5-inch round. Now, if it doesn't, that's okay. I mean, it could just depends on how evenly you cut them. And if you don't have a rolling pin, you can always take them and do it by hand. All right, got that out to a 6-inch round. Now I just have to wait on, which I think I said 5-inch earlier. But like I said, it really just depends on how evenly you cut your pieces, you know, how springy is your dough. Which if your dough's still springy, let it sit. You know, and it won't be, it'll relax. So the glutens in your dough have a tendency to not want to relax. Alright, so we're going to take this. We're going to put it in here. And you only, like I said, you only want to do one at a time in the pan. You don't want to crowd the pan by any stretch of the imagination. And we're going to let that fry for a minute or two on that side. While that's frying up, I'm going to go ahead and get the next one started. Okay, it's been about a minute, and I can see, I don't know if you can see this or not. Here, let me bring you over here right quick so you can see what I'm talking about. But you see there's like little air bubbles forming. That's how we know it's time to go. And see how easy that slides over? And then bam, just like that. That's what we're looking for. See how it's got that nice layer of, you know, golden to it, a little dark. That's pretty much what we're looking for. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get these other ones done. I got this one rolled out. And like I said, you can do these by hand. You don't even need a rolling pin. Think about it. I mean, these breads are, this bread here is about 2,000 years old. So I am sure they didn't have exactly the same kind of stuff we have today. This would have been done on an open fire, you know, and so forth. And they wouldn't have had, essentially, I wouldn't imagine, a really cool rolling pin or a round to be able to do that with. So you can do this by hand. You don't absolutely need a rolling pin. Yep, and there we are. So we got first one's done. I just need something to set it on. So grab a couple paper towels. Boom, like such. Heat's a little high. Turn that down. And then we'll move on to the next one. All right, well, I'm going to finish these up, and then we'll take a look at them. Like I said, quick and easy. Okay, we're down to the last one, so let's review. We cut it, 8 pieces, took the pieces, rolled it into a ball. Now, got it in the center there. I'm going to flip this one here real quick so we don't burn it. We're going to press it down into a round. And we want about no more than a 1/4 inch thick. You know, or 5 to 6 inches around. All right, got it spread out there. Looking good. Flip it over, make sure we're solid. Yeah, I suppose you can make them any size you want, but the standard's about 5 to 6 inches. Check this one here real quick. Looking good. Then we're going to take our round, our little disc, stick it in here. We're going to let that cook for about a minute. And how long it will cook in the pan will just depend on how hot you got your pan. Now, you don't want it so hot that it's going to burn almost instantly. I mean, that's kind of the main basis for it. You know, but you don't want it so cold that it doesn't get that nice look to it. I mean, right there is how we're looking. You know, that's how you want your naan bread to look like. I can see it starting to bubble up right there. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to flip it over. And I've noticed with these, it really depends on what recipe you look at as to whether you use oil in your pan or not. The first couple recipes I looked at for naan bread didn't tell you to oil the bottom of it, which, I mean, I guess depending on your skill, you don't have to. Like this one here, I didn't have to oil it, but I think by oiling it, it gives it a better flavor. The first time we made this, I did not oil them. All right, and that's literally it right there. And then you would just wash, rinse, and repeat to do that. Now, right here is our stack of naan bread. And other than the hour and a half you have to wait for it to rise, for your bread dough to rise, you know, depending on where you have it at, mine being in the oven, there's not a whole lot of work to these. So let me grab a little thing of butter here right quick. And for this I'll use well, that's corn. Won't be using that. Here, ooh, I know what we'll use. I actually have some garlic butter right here that I think would be just delicious on this. We'll go ahead and take our bread here and we'll put a little bit of this garlic butter spread on it. I know what you're thinking, Brian. That's from a pizza shop. And you're right, it is. The kids had pizza last night, and I had a couple pieces for leftover, and I like mine with garlic bread, or with the garlic butter. So, let's see what we did here. Because every time, I always get nervous when I make things like this, just because they could turn out different every single time. Oh, yeah. Yep, that tastes just like, and you want to try and serve it warm. But if you look, see how it's got the little air pockets in it? Sorry. That's got like the little divots and air pockets in it. That's what you're looking for. But it's not horribly thick either. Which is what we want. It has become one of our favorite breads. Hands down. It doesn't take long to make. Best served warm, but you can eat it just room temperature too. Sorry. This is really good. If you store it at room temperature, it's good for a day or two. I mean, really. Keep it in the fridge, it's good for a week or two. You can freeze this. Alright, so if you want to make up like, you know, 2 batches worth, 16 pieces, and say it's just you and your other, or just you, or you got a party coming up and you want to make this part of the meal, you can make up a bunch of it and just stick it in the freezer. And then like that morning, bring it out to room temperature, and then you can warm it up, whether it be in the microwave or just pop it in the oven real quick to give it some warmth, and then serve it. It's great. You can do a few variations on this theme. Sorry, I just can't help myself. You can put some onion powder in that, or some garlic powder in that, and add a little more flavor to it. Like I said, you can make sandwiches out of this. There's like 1,000,001 things you can do with this bread. Anyhow, try this bread. It's quick, it's easy, it's like 6 ingredients, and it's all stuff that you should probably have in your kitchen anyway if you do any kind of cooking. And it costs you less than it ever would at the store. And you can tell your friends, like, yeah, I made that. Guaranteed, nobody's going to be disappointed. All right, I guarantee that. Nobody will be disappointed. You'll be a rock star and a hero. So, give this a try. Let me know what you think. If you like it and you were successful with it, let me know. If you were successful with it and didn't like it, let me know. Or if you just couldn't quite get it, let me know, and maybe I can help you through it, because it really is easy. And it's a good never made bread before recipe. It is the biggest thing. Trust me, because until this, I had never made bread before. This is my first attempt at bread, and I did it. So if I did it, I know you can do it. But anyhow, let me know. Tomorrow, for baking, I was going to show how to do the caramel sauce that we did on the turtle cake, but I ran into this amazing cheesecake, and I really want to make it. It is a pineapple upside down cheesecake. Excuse me. The Cheesecake Factory sells one, which I think they're actually who created the recipe, the original recipe for it, and there are several variations from that, and we're going to do a variation also. And what it is it's essentially an upside down cake, a pineapple upside down cake on the bottom and on the top, and then in the center is a pineapple cheesecake that I think you guys will just, it's going to knock it out of the park. All right, I mean, hands down. I thought the turtle cheesecake knocked it out of the park. I think if we do this one right, this is going to make the turtle cheesecake look minor league. I'm not going to lie. And that was an awfully good cheesecake. So, tomorrow, pineapple upside down cheesecake. Until then, I love you. I love you very much, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Make some of this bread. Give it to a neighbor. Make a double batch. Give some to the neighbor. They're going to think that they're going to know. They're not going to think that you're a good person and that you want to know them. And get to know them if you don't already know them. If you already know them, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is why we're friends. So anyhow, tomorrow, I'll see you then. All right? Love you. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.